Hello, everyone, and welcome to our day one of tuning in to guidance. So, I am actually live here on Facebook, I'm live on Instagram, and I am also live on YouTube. And so, today we are going to be jumping into our day one of tuning in to guidance. And tuning into guidance is so important because what we do not realize is that we try to solve so many problems by ourselves. And in trying to solve so many problems by ourselves, we get caught up and we start, all of this um, insanity of trying to figure everything out. We tend to try to figure everything out from here down. This is where we try to figure everything out. And what we have to start doing is realizing that everything is already figured out for us from here up. But we're so busy focused on here down that we don't see it. And so that's why tuning in to guidance is so integral to us living a life that's easy and effortless and full of grace and flow. If we want if we want to live a life like that, then we have to be willing to start tuning in. And that's what today is all about. We're starting here, day one. And I am a firm believer that we have to first lay a firm foundation. It's not just, okay, give me everything and tell me how to do it. We first have to lay a very firm foundation for what it is that tuning into guidance really is. Okay. And so you are going to see me looking off to the side. That's just me looking at the other comments and the other cameras. This is the first time I'm doing like a three-way live. So you will see me kind of my eyes darting around to the different comments that are coming up. So I just wanted to make everyone aware of that as we continue on. So hello, everyone on Facebook. Hello, everyone on Instagram. Hello, everyone on YouTube. I thank you all so much for joining. I thank you all so much for being here and taking the time out of your day to really begin this journey of tuning in to guidance. And so, what I want to talk about first when it comes to tuning into guidance is to realize something really, really important. Oh, and I also thank you all for sharing and liking and commenting. I thank you all for that as well. So, when it comes to tuning in to guidance, what we want to make very sure of is that we actually are tuning into guidance daily. And this is what so many of us don't even realize. I know for a long time I didn't realize it. I didn't think anything of it. I thought, whatever, you only tune into guidance, when you're meditating or when you're this. We are tuned into guidance all the time. It's just we just really don't listen to it a good majority of the time. And the only reason we don't listen to it a good majority of the time is because we have taught ourselves once again that we only care about the solution from here down instead of realizing that it's already solved for us from here up. And so we have to start realizing that we actually are getting guidance every day. And the guidance that we're getting is probably in areas of our lives that, let's be very honest, we care very little about. And that's how, we get the guidance. Maybe you like to garden. Maybe that's something that you really like to do. And all of a sudden you're just like, I need to plant petunias. You have no idea why, but you're just like, whatever, I'll plant some petunias. And little did you know that when you planted those petunias, they were actually, great for your garden because they attracted the right kind of bugs. Now, were you thinking about that? Not at all. Most likely you were just like, oh, petunias, that sounds cool. All right, let's do it. That's guidance. And so many of us don't realize that small, still little voice that just is like, hey, you might want to try this. That's guidance. See, there's this big stigma when it comes to receiving guidance that it has to be like, this big, powerful voice that speaks to you and echoes. That's not spirit. Spirit is direct. Yes, spirit can come through that way if it wishes to, but I will tell you the years that I have been working with spirit, it is soft, quiet, direct, and it doesn't yell at you. It doesn't need to yell at you. It doesn't have to yell at you. It just simply says, here's the guidance. Here's the answer that you didn't even know that you needed. Think about other times when you have maybe gone up to someone and you've just happened to say the right thing. You have no idea how you said the right thing or how you even came up with what you said. That's another form of guidance because you stopped worrying about what was necessarily the quote unquote right thing to say, and you allowed yourself the inspiration to say what needed to be said. And so, like I said, we are receiving guidance every single day, and we just aren't aware of it. We haven't attuned ourselves, if you will, to receiving that. And so that's what we have to start doing. But first, you have to let go of all of those ideas that come up and tell you you're not good enough for guidance. You can't do the guidance. Guidance only comes to, quote unquote, psychic people. Well, I am here to give you the wonderful news. Everyone is psychic. Everyone has the same ability that I do or any other reader does to glean information from a higher source. We all have it. It's right there in front of us. But once again, we have some of these blocks in our minds that tell us, you know what? Well, maybe I'm not as good as this person, or maybe I can't do it as well as that person. That's something that we have to really be willing to let go. And, in my 8 weeks of guidance course that I will be opening here in the second week of April, that will be open enrollment. That's really our foundation. Like that's where we start. We start talking about guidance. We start talking and dispelling a lot of the myths about guidance. Like that's something that we start doing because that's something that's really important. And we also, of course, do exercises to help us gain more awareness of the guidance that we are receiving every day. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And I think that's what a lot of us try to do, that we think we have to do, and this is also in my new book that I'm writing, The Practical Mystic. Spirit doesn't require you to paint your face red, blue, and yellow with specific paints and specific, anything like that. Spirit does not require you to sit underneath the full moon. Spirit does not require you to do anything to receive guidance. It says simply receive it because it is freely given. It's in our own minds that we feel like there are these mystical steps that we have to take. There are no mystical steps that we have to take that are, crazy and outlandish. And my dear friend, Deborah Bowen, I don't know if she's still on here watching, but something that she said in a podcast that I just continue to take with me is, if it's not practical, it's not spiritual, because spirituality and guidance is there to help us. Now, is the guidance always going to seem like the most practical? No, not always. But I can guarantee if you follow it, you are going to see some amazing things. But first, like I said, be willing. Be willing, be willing, be willing to let go of all those stigmas that keep telling you can't tune into guidance, because you're tuning into it every single day. It's about letting go of that idea that only quote unquote special people can do it. Everyone is psychic. Everyone has the ability to tune in. And everyone has the ability to receive guidance, because what is the divine will? The divine will is for us to be happy and free. And so that's what the divine is going to give to us. It's going to give us guidance in order to bring us happiness and freedom. And so I believe it is, let me look at my notes here. On day 3, we're actually going to be talking about, this very common thing that I hear a lot of from my mentorship clients. Well, I can't trust my heart. We're going to be talking about that on day 3. What is it that, why can't I trust my heart? Or where did my heart lead me wrong? Or whatever the case may be for you. The heart never leads you wrong. The heart is always that truth giver. Okay. Now, sometimes, like I said, I would gladly go into that. But if I start going into that, then I'm going into all of day 3. So let's get refocused back here on day 1. And like I said, this is just where we are really setting that foundation. So foundation step number 1, you are psychic. You do have the ability to receive guidance. Foundation step number 2, acknowledge that you are receiving guidance. It may not be about the parts of your life that you want right now, but the reason that you're not getting it about the parts of your life that you want right now is because you're so focused on the problem from here down, instead of realizing that it's already solved from here up. And you could receive that guidance if you are willing to let go of your plan, let go of your agenda, let go of the way you think that it has to be, or what the right step should be or has to be. Okay. And then our 4th step is let go of spirit being a loud, booming voice that tells you exactly what to do and where to do it. Spirit suggests. That's what spirit does. Like I use the example of gardening. You may want to plant some petunias. It's not going to say, you better plant those petunias and you better plant them now, because that's not loving. That's spirit basically saying you better do it and kind of threatening you. Spirit doesn't threaten, not at all. Spirit is kind, loving, and it is gentle, but it is also direct. It will give you direction and say, hey, turn left, and just be very matter of fact about it. Turn left. If you don't do it, it's not going to yell at you. It's not going to tell you you're stupid. And it's not going to go away from you, because spirit will never leave you. Just like you really never leave spirit. You only think that you do, or you only think that spirit leaves you. It never does. It never could. It never would, because it cannot leave itself. You are spirit. Spirit is you. And it wants nothing more than your help. Then it wants nothing more than to help you to remember the truth of who you are and all that comes with that. So something that I have found that's really useful in starting this intuitive journey and starting to become more aware. And like I said, that's really what we want to start doing, becoming more and more aware of our intuition and where it's showing up in our lives and even how it's showing up. And all you have to do is just get a little pocket-sized notebook. I have like 4 or 5 of them that I got from the dollar store. You just go over there, just get a little pocket-sized notebook. And one thing that you can begin to do to help you to really start becoming more aware of your own guidance and how it's coming to you is when you get an intuitive hit, what are you going to do? Write it down. That's all you have to do. You write down the time, you write down the date. And if you want to get like really in depth and in detail, then you are more than welcome to write down like where you felt it in your body, how you felt it, and what it felt like. And of course, what is the guidance? And that's going to really help you to become more aware and be like, wow, okay, like I'm really getting guidance here because, I'm seeing it, I'm writing it down, and I'm seeing how it is really coming to fruition in my life. And so for me, the reason I can share these tools with you is because I practice these things. These are not things that I just kind of fancifully throw around or just be like, oh, maybe. No. This is what I have done to help me gain more awareness. And so when I was carrying around my pocket notebook, I would just jot it down because a good majority of the time it would come when I was at work, when I was working at Kinder Care. And so I just have to jot it down real quick, be like, okay, it's 9:40 and, here's today's date. And this is kind of the guidance that came through, Tiffany's mad or Kim's really upset. Maybe they had smiles on their faces. Maybe they were, doing whatever. But, okay, just write that down. Or maybe I'm like, ooh, saw an orange ball. I don't know what that was about, but it's just something that came to me. And so I wrote it down. And I started to get better and better and better at it. And as I started to get better and better at writing it down, I also started to trust it more because I was seeing how those things that I had written down were actually coming to fruition. So, maybe one of the kids brought in an orange ball. Maybe later on in the day, Kim was like, I'm really upset and here's the reason why. Or maybe Tiffany was like, yeah, I was really sad this morning, but I'm better now. Whatever the case may be, but writing it down. And because when you write it down and not just type it, I know a lot of us, phones are super accessible. I get it. But at the same time, writing it down just has this power that really helps us. And it's just like, wow, this is such a beautiful way of showing ourselves how intuitive we are. Oh, thank you so much, Debbie. I appreciate it. So that's one thing that you can do. And so when I started doing it, I started writing it down. I started trusting more because I was seeing it happen. And the next thing I knew, I had a coworker come in and I didn't have my notebook that day or whatever the case was. I didn't have it. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I just got this intuitive hit and I saw her in my mind's eye sitting in the shower crying. And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird, but I'm gonna go with it. And so, she had finished her duties in the morning. We didn't have any kids coming in yet. And I said, hey, can come in the kitchen real quick? And she was like, oh, what's up? And she was smiling, happy, bouncing around. She's like, oh, it's such a great morning. And I said, I have a vibe about you, which is once again something we talk about in our 8 weeks of guidance course is, kind of spiritual etiquette and not just, throwing something at someone, but really asking them, I have a vibe about you. Would you like to hear it? And so I asked her, I said, hey, I have a vibe. Do you want to hear what it's about? And she was very open about it. And she's like, yeah, why not? So I said, what I saw was, I said, you were really upset last night and you actually started crying in the shower. And she just looked at me and the smile, the joy went from to, I mean, just everything drained from her face. And she was just like, what? She goes, how the fuck did you know that? And I was like, it just popped in my head. I said, is everything okay? And then she kind of told me what was going on and why she was so upset and how she had a breakdown and so forth and so on. And that right there was just such validation. I was like, wow, like writing it down, seeing it helped me to be brave enough to be like, hey, I have a vibe about you. Do you want to hear it? And then have the confidence to, say it. And then have that then shown to me like, wow, I was right. Like, that's amazing. I was just floored. Oh, thank you so much, Shirley. And I was just floored by it. I was just like, that's amazing. And so that was one way. Now, I want to give you first, I want to invite everyone who's either watching this live or watching the replay, doesn't matter when you're watching it. I want to invite you so much to start that practice. And actually, what I'd really love to have happen is, I'm going to be going live. I'm live today. I'll be live tomorrow. I'll be live Wednesday. I'll be live Thursday. I would love to see like what you're getting in your own journaling, like of your own intuitive tips. So if you want to start writing that down, and then as I come live, I'll give a little bit of time for us to, kind of come in and, and share our, intuitive things that we've gotten. It doesn't matter what it's about. It's not about being right. It's not about being wrong. It's about just allowing yourself that awareness to see how much guidance you truly really get in a day. So that's an invitation I want to give to each of you. Actually, you could even call it, if you want, an opportunity for growth of saying, okay, like I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to just like write it down. What is it going to hurt you to write it down? Who's it going to hurt? Nobody. If anything, it's going to show you how much guidance you receive in a day. And it's going to show you how much the divine loves you and wants to support you Once again, it may not be in the areas of your life that you want right now, but know that it will get there. It will. It's just right now we're learning about, where guidance comes in and how it comes in for us. So that's the first thing I really want to invite you to do. Now, here's something else that I also want to invite you to do to help, with your guidance and really just kind of seeing how your guidance works with you. And so something that I do is when I am watching like a competition cooking show or a show that like involves like picking something, right? I will just sit there and just be like, what do you like? What for the cooking show? We'll just use because then the reason I use the cooking show is because I watched Tournament of Champions last night with my mom. And we were sitting there, and I would just be like, okay, what's going to be the produce? Like, they had like meat, produce, what kind of style, how many minutes, all these different options. And I was just like, okay, what's going to be the produce? And I remember I was like, okay. And all I saw was green and a circle. And I was like, green and a circle. I was like, okay, well, and I just said it out loud. I said, okay, for the produce, it's going to be something that's green and it's circular. And they were like, it's tomatillos. And I was like, tomatillos? What are tomatillos? I've never heard of those. And what do you know? They're like they're little green circles, little green tomatoes. And I was like, oh my gosh, super cool. And I was just like, all right. And so then, we go to the next one. And the next one, I'm just like, okay, spirit, if you want to tell me the produce, you can tell me the produce. Like I was very open, just like, okay, like, what do you want me to know about? And the next one, I didn't so much see something as it was kind of just like a feeling. And I was like, it's going to be a citrus fruit. I don't know what kind of citrus fruit, but it's going to be a citrus fruit. And so, they're turning it and it looks like it's about to land like on apples, right? And I was like, oh, that's not a citrus fruit. And then it drops down and it goes to pineapple. And I was like, oh my gosh, there it is again, like super fun. And so that's another thing. Have fun with it. Guidance is not to be necessarily this serious thing that I have to get right. At first, play with it. Be willing to play with it because spirit is playful. Spirit wants to help you and it wants to do it joyfully. It wants to do it happily. But see, here's the thing. We've kind of taught ourselves to not be happy learners. We've taught ourselves that we can only grow through pain. We can only grow through, all this other stuff. We can grow through happiness. We can grow through joy. We just have to allow ourselves that opportunity. So let's allow it. Why not? Once again, is it going to hurt you? No. And is it going to hurt anyone else? No. This is something for you to do, something that's going to help to engage your awareness of spirit and how it is there for you and wants to support you and wants to help you. Right now, yeah, we're just kind of playing with it for right now until we get a little more comfortable with it. The more and more comfortable we get with it, the more and more information is going to come to us. But first, we have to get comfortable with it. First, we have to just play with it just a little bit to kind of see how it's going, right? And so that's just something you can do. And even, like I said, anything that has to do with quote unquote guessing, do it. Why not? Have fun with it. Play with it. Guidance is meant for you. It is. But you got to play with it. You got to interact with it. You got to become more aware of it and how it interacts with you, which is once again, and I don't know if Shirley's still here, but Shirley can attest that what we do in the 8 weeks of guidance course is there's actually a tool that I use to help you really pin down what it is, and not what it is, how spirit really connects with you through one of your clear abilities. And we'll be talking about those a little bit later on in the week. But that's something else that we do. And then you, of course, get that one-on-one call with me where we really get to tune into guidance. We really get to work on that together and do some tapping and releasing and all sorts of other wonderful things. And even on our calls, just because we're talking about tuning into guidance, if once again, if something comes up that, you want to ask about, we take the time to do it. This is not just me sitting in front of a camera pre-recorded. This is live and in person, the course, because I want to make sure that you are getting that individualized attention that you want. I want to make sure that I am available for you to ask your questions. And you can do the course in a group like Miss Shirley did, or you can do it individually like some others have done, like a friend of mine, Tiffany. She did the course individually. She did it by herself. That's how she wanted to do it, which is absolutely fine. So either you can do it as a group or you can do it individually. But those are the tools that I really wanted to give you this week on tuning in to that guidance and how to really start doing that, how to start becoming aware of it, because that's where the tuning in starts. It starts with awareness. So getting that little pocket notebook, and even if you just write it in your notes on your phone, that's also fine. Like I said, I understand that those are, readily available, and sometimes paper and pen aren't. And so if you need to write it, type it on your phone under notes, then that's fine. But if you can, write it on a piece of paper or write it in a little notebook so you can really keep track of it and see the progression and see how, more and more guidance starts to come to you, the more and more aware you start to become of it. Then the other thing that we can start doing is, of course, starting to play with that guidance in, things that we don't necessarily care about, things we're not invested in, who's going to win, you know, TOC, who's going to do this, who's going to do that, and just playing with it. What produce are they going to get? Or what cake are they going to make? Or what color are they going to use? And just play with it. Have fun with it. And like I said, I so want to invite you to start writing that down. And then we can come on here starting tomorrow, because I will be live again tomorrow here at 5. And tomorrow, we've kind of laid the groundwork. And tomorrow we're going to really just be playing with energy. I'm going to be sending out, energy balls or energy waves, however, energy tentacles, whatever you want to call them. And, that's really what we're going to be talking about. And we're also going to be talking, our other talking point is going to be, what is psychic energy? How do we perceive it? That's what we're going to be talking a little bit about, the clairs. So come back tomorrow. And I so look forward to seeing all of, your guidance. What did you receive? How did you receive it? If you want to share it that way, that's also fine. So I'll be live. I'm going to do my best to be live here on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram again tomorrow. So I thank you for joining me. I thank you for being here. I thank you for your interaction and your willingness to learn, your willingness to want to be here and want to experience deeper and more profound ways of living life. So once again, if you're interested in my 8 weeks of guidance course, either individually or as a group, feel free to go visit my website, awakeningmiracles.org. And then you can just go to the workshops tab. Or if you're here on Facebook or YouTube, it's actually, the link is already in the description of the video. All you have to do is click it. It'll take you to my workshops. And the workshop that the 8 weeks of guidance course is the second workshop on the page. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Bye for now. Eight weeks of guidance training.